Hello, everyone. It's Monday, September 13th. I have everyone's exam one graded, so please take a look at that. Just going over how I graded things for question number one, briefly explain the role of the sodium and potassium in the release of insulin, specifically how their actions change the voltage of the cell. So one thing I want to say is don't talk about any more or any less than this. You did not need to talk about glucose. You did not need to talk about calcium. You actually didn't even need to talk about insulin. So stick with what the question is asking. And the big reason for that is because if you answer the question correctly, but then you're starting to talk about peripheral things that are incorrect, you could lose points on that. So please just focus on what the question is asking. And the short, easy answer to this is when the sodium continues to leak into the cell, but potassium is no longer allowed to leave the cell via the potassium ATPase, the cell starts to depolarize because more positive is coming into the cell than positive leaving the cell. So that's a short, quick answer for number one. And question number two, please explain what type of things can cross plasma membranes and their structural molecular makeup that allows for this. Gases, which are small molecules, and lipid molecules can easily cross the plasma membrane without a channel. The other way of saying it, large polar molecules or charged atoms, which are known as ions, cannot. So I was just looking for small molecules such as gases and lipid-based molecules, which are nonpolar and lipophilic. Okay, so that's it for the exam. Take a look at your answers. Make sure I graded everything correctly. You are more than welcome to argue any points. I encourage that. You should be allowed to do that in any class, I believe. So let's take a look at new material starting this week. For exam two, we're going to start talking about excitable cells, which we see here in exam two material. Here's excitable cells. And we see three videos right here for this, a bunch of terminology. So one of the main excitable cells in the body are neurons. So a lot of this is about neurons. Get going on this, please, sooner rather than later. I do have a video on the anatomy of neurons. And while this is not an anatomy class, understanding the anatomy is useful for understanding the physiology. And lastly, I am still working on grading all of your 2 lab assignments to this point. Hopefully I'll have those done by Wednesday. And I will post this week's lab assignment either tonight or tomorrow. Okay, office hours tonight at 7 p.m.